This is just a sample of the audiobook. To get the complete audiobook, access the link posted in the first comment.
If the folk culture of Cades Cove had functioned as only the collective consciousness of the community, there would have been little direct interference in the daily lives and social behavior of individuals. Yet the Cove people's intimate knowledge of each other was never passive. Implicit in such knowledge was a subtle form of social control. By the end of the 19th century, a very clear consensus about proper behavior existed, and most of the Cove dwellers adhered to the unwritten rules and prescriptions imposed by the larger community. Intense scrutiny of one's neighbors meant that very little occurred which escaped public notice, and few families could avoid the opprobrium of having their most intimate private problems become widely known. The primary instrument of enforcement for this social code was the family. By 1900, the Cove population reached the greatest growth, 709 people, in its entire history. Yet despite these numbers, there were only 38 surnames listed in the 1900 census. With minimal migration into or out of the Cove since the Civil War, most of this increase came through natural growth in the existing population. As a result, practically every member of the community in 1900 was related through varying degrees of kinship to most of their neighbors. In this sense, the Cove was actually one large extended family, bound together by myriad ties of both kinship and a common past. Some families, notably the Birchfields, Gregorys, Laquires, Myers, Olivers, Shields, and Tiptons, accounted for the largest percentage of the population, but nearly all the smaller families were interrelated to these larger kinship groups. Since most of the larger families did assist needy relatives, however remote the tie of kinship might be, membership in one of the Cove families seems to have been the major reason people living elsewhere returned to the Cove in the long Depression years following the Civil War. Conversely, there appeared to be little incentive for people with no family connections to move into the Cove. Exceptions were men with special skills needed by the community. Physicians are notable examples. This closed society contrasts strikingly with both the diversity of immigrants entering the Cove in the 1850s and the ready acceptance then into the community's life of men with widely varying backgrounds and political views. The Civil War had unfortunately engendered a lasting suspicion of strangers, since these men had often turned out to be marauding guerrillas during the brutal war years. While it was true members of the same family had occasionally betrayed one another during the war, the post-war community still trusted its own kin to the exclusion of all outsiders. Practically everyone could recite the lengthy genealogies and pinpoint exactly where in the family tree his neighbor had become a relation. Implicit in this knowledge was a sense of social obligation to family according to the closeness of the connection.